You'll want to stick around because we're going to show you the steps we took to repair this beautiful $250,000 Porsche GT3 RS without doing any kind of repainting, bodywork, or replacement of parts. In 38 hours? Stay tuned. So diving right in, you can see here that somebody already attempted this repair. Not the greatest, repair attempt, but surprisingly, the bulk of the damage towards the rear of the quarter panel was lifted up, didn't do any paint damage. That's what it looked like before in that corner shot. Paintless dent repair in general is definitely not a DIY type project thing. So you want to hire a skilled professional when you have these types of repairs done. But still impressive, the fact that they did not break the paint. And you can see the gap here indicating that this panel is totally out of tension. And we're going to apply some tension to bring this panel back into tension. And you'll see shortly how we do that. And what we're doing is taking some things apart to gain access to the backside of the dent. But we're also going to be pulling from the outside using some hot glue. We've got our glue guns, some glue tabs. When the hot glue gets applied to these tabs, they're going to be strategically placed in all the powerhouse areas of the impact to allow us to apply some tension so we can slowly manipulate that metal back into its natural position. We're going to be using direct tension and also lateral tension, and we're going to do that with this unit here. This is going to help us apply the direct tension to the panel, and this is actually a floor puller. And this floor puller actually suctions, believe it or not, it's got a built-in compressor to the floor. Let's close this valve here, turn the switch on, and it is rock solid. But just for extra precaution here, we're going to anchor the puller device to the floor using these pots. Preparation is everything when it comes to applying hot glue to a painted surface. We're hitting this with some compound and then some alcohol to follow, and then we typically will heat the panel or just give it a quick swipe with a torch to ensure that we have all the contaminants off the panel and the panel's up to temperature ready for pulling. Here's our puller setup here. You can see we've got it anchored very nicely along with all the strategically placed glue tabs and our lateral tension. You can see with those yellow straps, we're going to start applying some lateral tension to get this panel moving in a certain direction while we apply the direct tension to get this metal flowing and ready for manipulation. So you can see here we're knocking some of the pressure out of this panel while it's being pulled, and also doing some pushing from the inside. We had a nice factory access hole we're going through, and we're just basically releasing some of the stresses in the panel right now. It can get a little messy and ugly, but we're just trying to get the shape back for now, and then we'll deal with all the fine tuning later. This device here is pretty nifty, very satisfying actually. It's called an auto hammer and basically allows us to move metal at a rapid rate in areas that are really wide open. And super convenient tool when you have it. If you're another paintless dent repair technician, I would probably recommend picking that up for your tool arsenal. You'll thank me later. You remember that big old gap we had? Well, after all that manipulation, you can see we've got our gap back into its factory state. Customer's going to be super thrilled about that. I know that was bothering them. This is a picture of a left and right quarter panel. You can see the one we're working on the left still has a little bit of a low, but these are little nuances that we have to pay attention to doing paintless dent repair, because you put this car out in the sun, you're going to see that all day long. So little things like that we have to pay attention to. So here's my remedy for open access areas that are a little too open. I actually took the floor puller and put it right near the vehicle, anchored it, and then took a chain and then just ran a leverage point right to the panel. Super convenient way to get around that open access when you've got too much access. We're doing some further manipulation with some tools from the outside. You can see our knockdown going to work there, knocking down all those little highs and pushing up all those little lows. This is that repair attempt, a little bit of a close-up. You can see miraculously no paint damage. Couldn't believe it. Here's a little bit of a time lapse of this dent being repaired. We're using a stand liner whale tail, very stout whale tail inside there, and difficult access, even though This is a wide open panel for the most part. It does have that brace on the inside, but we're using all these different types of knockdowns. You especially need a knockdown like this. This is a VIP, very precise knockdown for knocking out all those little high spots that are inside that deep. This is pretty much almost an overstretched dent, believe it or not, on the body line like that. Doing some more glue pulling with a slide hammer and some smaller tabs with a mini lifter as well. Porsche paint literally is the best paint job on the market. It doesn't get any better than this. It's got the best paint adhesion from the factory. That paint is not going anywhere. You can really do some amazing things. I mean, I attribute me being able to rework that area towards the back to the Porsche paint being so great, being so resilient. I don't know if any other paint jobs would have stood the test of me heavily manipulating it and reworking it like the way I did. You can see all these little ripples that we're dealing with. This is where the finishing stages kick in, and this is where all the time is. Remember I told you 38 hours of metal manipulation. This is over the span of 4 days. We're finally in the finishing stages here, using sharper tips. We're getting in between every little nook and cranny and trying to match the factory paint texture to where most people would never know this repair was ever done. And one last look at this really ugly thing, and we turned it from that to this in a matter of hours. Customer's going to be so happy about that. We did not drill any kind of access holes into the vehicle. This thing provided plenty of factory access. Beautiful car. Most Porsche owners would never want to have this quarter panel replaced, let alone repaint this vehicle, as it affects the value, especially since this is an appreciating vehicle. Highly sought after vehicle. Want to retain the original factory paint finish and original parts if you can. Here's our final outcome. Customer was super stoked about this repair. I unfortunately was not able to be there when the customer picked this vehicle up, but he stated to my dad when he picked it up that he was extremely pleased with the outcome. If you're interested in paintless dent repair training, feel free to head over to the website, fill out the contact form. I'll be sure to get back to you. Or if you're a customer, feel free to fill out the customer contact form, and I'll be sure to get back to you as well. Thanks for watching, everyone.